going on, Jerome's? Minnesota Vikings definitely have a quarterback whisperer as head coach / offensive play caller in Kevin O'Connell. Got the best out of Kirk Cousins. Does Kevin O'Connell get just a little bit of the Kirk Cousins extension contract with the Falcons? Because 10% for the big guy. Because I feel like Kevin O'Connell's tutelage and play calling definitely got Kurt paid. Because it wasn't the Kubiai. We know that for sure. Anyways, but now Kevin O'Connell has two new pupils in free agent slinging Sam Darnold, as well as, of course, JJ McCarthy. That's right. Future is looking bright either way. And Darnold looked really damn good. His first and only drive of the preseason game on Saturday has looked very good this last week at training camp. And of course, JJ McCarthy is going to be the future. And the question is now, something that Kevin O'Connell has to balance is it going to be the Darnold show all year, or is the pride of Michigan going to take over at some point and then kickstart my heart and start the future? Because JJ, yes, he's playing with the 2s and the 3s. Hey, I love how people just like to move the goalposts with JJ McCarthy. We're just like, well, he was playing against the 3s. Yeah, it was really, really unfair that McCarthy got to play the Raiders' third team defense with Jefferson and Darisaw and a healthy Hawkinson and Addison and Aaron Jones. Just really unfair. Anyways, but long story longer, that's the wrong graphic. So Burt Breer over at Sports Illustrated. So Burt Breer is a hardcore Ohio State fan. I think he's alum too. So you know that it just has to pain him saying nice things about JJ McCarthy, just the man who just completely eviscerated his squad over the last couple of years. And Breer is so hardcore. He even has the Maurice Clarett Ohio State over Michigan Sports Illustrated cover in the background of his thing. That's great, man. But like we said, long story longer, Burt Breer did. So he has been fair, calling balls and strikes, and he did a training camp tour, stopped in Minnesota, and had some anecdotes and some observations about the way that Kevin O'Connell has operated with both of the quarterbacks, and a couple of juicy excerpts. I really like JJ McCarthy's progress. Notice he says progress, not that he likes JJ McCarthy. Words matter. It's obvious how good his situation is with the Minnesota Vikings, with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Christian Darisaw, Kevin O'Connell, Wes Phillips, Josh McCown, among others, giving the rookie a rock-solid supporting cast and football infrastructure. It's easily the best situation for any of the rookie quarterbacks this year, and I would actually put out there, in terms of rookie first-round quarterbacks, it's probably the best situation since Mahomes back in the day with the Chiefs when he landed there number 10, was able to sit a year behind Alex Smith. And yes, we've used that example as a reason why, hey, maybe McCarthy should sit a year, but I know this would be a tough take to take because Mahomes has become Mahomes. But Mahomes wasn't a slam dunk pick coming out of Texas Tech. Let's not rewrite history here. He was a pretty polarizing prospect. It wasn't on the scale of a Josh Allen coming out of Wyoming, but Mahomes is far from perfect. Would it be insane to say that McCarthy, as a rookie, would potentially be more prepared to start than a rookie Mahomes? It's not the craziest search in the world. Like I said, it's difficult to fathom because of what's happened recently, and Mahomes becoming, quickly becoming potentially one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But yeah, he JJ McCarthy, also acquitted himself nicely, especially in riding out some bumps in this preseason debut against the Las Vegas Raiders on Saturday, completing blah, 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 blah. Maybe best of all is that he's playing for a staff that won't force him out on the field in the regular season before he's ready. And that's a great luxury. And frankly, I'm happy that the Vikings didn't trade up into the top 3 for a quarterback, because once you do that, or even if you take a quarterback in the top 3, top 5, you have that pressure to get him out there right away. And generally, if you're drafting in the top 5, your team sucks ass. So putting your quarterback out there, usually with not a great O-line or weapons around him, or with a new or bad head coach, it's not really good. It's not really good, man. But having that luxury of McCarthy will start when he's ready, Is great. After that, it was about writing a script that gave McCarthy and Darnold the best chance to improve. As simple as that sounds, Darnold, of course, had played in different systems and for 3 different teams before arriving in Minnesota after signing a 1-year, $10 million deal as a free agent, while McCarthy was coming from a very stable college environment. So while their needs would cross over at times, the areas where they could make leaps were different from one another. And obviously, both these guys are at different stages of their career. Darnold, even though he's a backup last year, had been a multi-year starter in this league. Now, the seasons weren't very good, but also I think a lot of it had to do with environment around him, but that experience is valuable, right? There is no other way, O'Connell told me Thursday. The process and the development plan needs to be applied with detail and great urgency to individualize an approach. You have to be willing to evaluate step by step, day by day. So that show was great, except they were in Wisconsin and they were Packer fans. I remember that. Also, I remember there was a scene where the dad was pushing like the infant around in a stroller, and he's talking about that's why 2nd and 1 is a passing down, and it's just like, yeah, that's correct. Anyways, while also preaching, you have to be willing to evaluate, blah blah blah. While also preaching and building a plan where guys never say to themselves, "I didn't get a little better today. I didn't get more comfortable today." That's how that is going. Both Sam and JJ are further along than I probably thought they would be at this point, and that's the whole thing too. And that's what comes with coaching, because if things are too easy, you're not pushing the players enough. If things are too difficult, either you're bumping up against the top of their potential, or you're making things a little bit too difficult, right? And the whole thing about eating an elephant, how do you do it? One bite at a time. If you go in and be like, hey, you got to just choke down Joey Chestnut style that entire elephant in one day, ain't gonna happen, man. And also, if you're just taking like little nibbles, that carcass is gonna rot before you get that thing down, man. But decent chunks, bites, as much as you can handle, but just up to that point, not more than that, not less than that. That's what we need. In other words, the benchmarks. I've thought way too much about eating an elephant. How do you think they taste? I would say it's obviously probably a little gamey. Anyways, the Vikings are looking for Darnold to hit aren't always the same as the ones they need McCarthy to hit. Those also aren't always so apparent to the naked eye, which is where O'Connell really got to the crux of the matter. And also, like in Darnold's practice reps as well as in the preseason game, his footwork was on point. He was getting the ball out quick. He wasn't staring at the rush. In fact, he had a couple of plays under pressure that looked really good. And frankly, didn't look like Sam Darnold with the Jets or with the Panthers. So I think that leaps and bounds have been made here. Quote, I know what I called, O'Connell said. I know what you did every single snap. I also know what was not exactly right, what was a little shaky. It might be little things. It might be calling plays in the huddle. It might be cadence at the line of scrimmage, remembering to send your motion. Every single time one of those things happens, that has nothing to do with your ability to play the position. It's all these small details that go into quarterback beyond just, hey, can you chuck the ball? Like all of these intangibles and soft skills matter. That's purely the comfort of making sure the other 10 guys in that huddle can break the huddle and run the play and be held accountable for the details of their job, because I can do the baseline of mine long before you have a ball leave your hands or make a check or an audible. That's where I've seen the growth and development with JJ. He is getting better at all that. Sam's comfort of the system is growing on a minute-to-minute basis. And also, just because Darnold's a veteran, like he's coming into this system cold. Now, yes, broad strokes wise, there is some crossover between what Shanahan did last year with the Niners, where Darnold was the backup, and what O'Connell is doing in this offense, right? But obviously it's not the same. And with McCarthy, like getting all of these soft skills in, he looks good. And we've noted this a bunch. In and out of the huddle, confidence and command at the line of scrimmage, and him being able to do his job is going to make everyone else's job easier, and that's the name of the game for a quarterback. The end game of all that is a day where JJ hits Justin Jefferson for some big plays. That's the future. And everybody's feeling good, but there also might be a small 3rd and 9 where instead of forcing a ball, he checks the ball down and we get 10. Or what if it's 4th and 8? I'm the most excited in the quarterback room when I see it, and they're like, dude, that was just a check down. And then after all of this, Now you see why Kirk Cousins and Kevin O'Connell got along so well, because Kevin O'Connell gets all amped up because of checkdowns. Then after all this, you get all the layers of managing the game. Being a game manager is a pretty powerful thing if you're as talented as these guys are. And that's the whole thing. Game manager isn't necessarily a negative. Like, managing the game means that you're logistically, you're good to go. You're taking care of the football. You're getting positive yardage. You're taking what's there. And as we said, like Saban has said, like every single offensive drive that ends in a kick, whether a field goal or a punt or an extra point, it's not a bad one, right? And the whole thing about it is, too, is like, yes, as a quarterback, you want the positives, all the positives, but also you want to avoid all the negatives as well. And that comes from game management. So I don't understand why game manager is such a bad thing. But either way, like Kevin O'Connell, I believe in him. I'm buying his brand, man. And this is a big year to show that Kevin O'Connell can do it on his own, and it wasn't just Kirk Cousins doing the damn thing, right? But this is going to be a fun thing to watch all season. I do think that Darnold, like, he'll be a one and done here, and likely he'll get paid somewhere else, or maybe a tag and trade situation for the Vikings. But I mean, the future is JJ McCarthy, and you got to feel good about having McCarthy and Kevin O'Connell together long term. Again, we got one. We got one, baby. But your thoughts are thoughts. Kevin O'Connell's doing it well with JJ McCarthy and slinging Sam Darnold. Let us know your thoughts. Our thoughts, comment section below. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull, production value.